3, 2, 1. And we're live. Good morning, everybody. This is Grant Sparks from the Grant Sparks Show. And we're going to be talking today about the time my grandmother passed and the realization I had about neo-nomadism, where I belong, where I live, and how to feel home and belonging wherever you're at. You see, I lived international for a year. I left my hometown when I was very young. And I have been plagued with the sense of not feeling at home or like I belong anywhere. Have you felt that way? I know I have felt that way. And what I've learned to deal with that throughout the years is fine. But what I've begun to learn as I get older is that other people are struggling. Even if they're in the town they've lived in for the last 10, 20 years, they still don't feel connected. They don't feel anchored. We're going to be covering that today and more in the Sparkside Show. In the Grant Sparks Show, the Sparkside Show, and the Grant Sparks Show. As a means of encouragement, I want to encourage you that you do belong and that there is a way to feel like you belong in a world where most people feel adrift. Most people feel adrift. They don't feel like they belong. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before any of that, if you've seen a single Grant Sparks show, you know what we're going to cover in this morning cup of gratitude. What are you grateful for this morning? What's filling you with a sense of gratitude? I'm telling you, post in the comments, whether on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you're watching, post in the comments and tell me what you're absolutely most grateful for this morning. And I'll start. As so often is the case, I am absolutely grateful for my time in the gym. My time in the gym this morning, I woke up and I did not feel like going to the gym one iota, but I went anyway. And it was phenomenal. I was so grateful. And by the end of that workout, I had a phenomenal workout, got a phenomenal pump. I had one of the guys in the gym come over, and I'll post on Instagram on this later. I'll post on the socials later. He came up to me and said, "Man, Grant, you look like you're pumped. You look like what's..." And this guy was hyping me up and encouraging me in a morning when I just did not feel like going. By the end of the workout, I had one of my strongest workouts that I've had in a while. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my team. That's a shout out to Amber and Nicole. We are working through difficult stuff all the time, and we're working through that together. Whoa, man, my white balance is out of control. Let's post that. We're facing a lot of growth, a lot of growing pains, a lot of changes. And with all of that, I am grateful for my team. I'm grateful for the people who are around, who are encouraging me at every turn. So I'm grateful for my time in the gym this morning, and I'm grateful for the people that are in my life right now that help me. Again, this is about finding home and belonging. Today's show is about finding home and belonging. And so I cannot be grateful enough for the people that do show up. And you cannot, please never undervalue the weight and importance of a simple compliment. I know this is true for men. It has to also be true for women. It has to be true for everyone. But especially, I am intimately familiar. It's so rare that we actually get compliments and get encouragement. Do not underestimate the power of a compliment or a word of encouragement to a guy to the left or right of you. I'm noticing this more and more and more. Part of the reason I love going to the gym is you get these small compliments. You get these small acknowledgments. If you were gone for a week, people in the gym notice. If you were there and you're getting a pump and you're starting to feel yourself, people notice. So please do not underestimate that. That is what I'm grateful for this morning. What are you grateful for? I shared with you, share with me, post in the comments and let me know what struck your mind as I was talking about my points of gratitude. What are you grateful for? Let me know. Mr. Slimy Boy 9 or Mr. Slimy Boy 9. Thanks for the word preach. People need compliments. So few of us actually get compliments anywhere. And this is Mr. Slimy Boy 9. I assume you're a guy, maybe you know this, or maybe you have a guy in your life or people, or you've observed this, but we very rarely get compliments. And when you actually give a compliment, we might even downplay it. Freedom Nation says, that's Jessica, or Miguel Ojeda says, "I am so happy and grateful for my personal growth and that I love the direction my life is going professionally." That's on Instagram. Go check out that comment there. Thank you for that. Absolutely. But my personal growth right now is huge. But back to this compliment thing, most guys don't even know what to do with a compliment. So if you compliment a guy or a young man and you say, "Hey, you're looking good. Hey, I just want you to let you know you're welcome here. We love your presence here." Anything like that, we might even not know what to do with. Don't take that as a rejection of compliments. Take that as we're just trying to process like what we do with that. Tammy Schneider says, "Tammy, good morning. I'm grateful for getting well and my business picking up. Tammy, I don't know what you were struggling with, but I am grateful for that for you as well, because we need powerful people out here doing powerful things. I'm so grateful for positive people. Preach. Mr. Slimy Boy 9 here says, preach. Listen, Tammy, you preach. I'm so grateful for positive people. I'm getting chills reading your note here, Tammy, because there are so few. The older I get, the rarer truly positive people are. So whoever they are, gravitate, share their information, like and share if someone needs encouragement today. And so again, you're just catching me in the gratitude segment. So Tammy, thank you for taking a moment and expressing gratitude, because when you, or when Slimy Boy 9, or when Freedom Nation over here on Instagram, Miguel and Jessica, post something and go out of your way to communicate gratitude, you open yourself up to receiving more of those good things. In Tammy's case, it's receiving more positive people in her life, more well-being, more business picking up. When you put it out there that that's what you're grateful for, that is what you begin attracting. Mr. Slimy Boy 9, we were talking about compliments and encouragement. Mr. Slimy Boy 9, when you go out there and even just say the word preach on a topic like that, you open yourself up to receiving more encouragement. Good morning, Brock. Good to see you dropping in. I hope you're doing great this morning. So when you actually can share something you're grateful for or hype someone else and what they're experiencing, you open yourself up to receiving that in an unparalleled way. And so, yes, we usually start the Grand Spark Show with opening up words of encouragement. And Brock, if you're still here, I'm encouraging you, drop what you're grateful for in the comments, and I'm going to hype you and share it to people because I want more of that goodness. I want more of that in my life. Oh man, Mr. Slimy Boy. I'm grateful for cardboard. I can't lie. Okay. I don't know what that's all about, but I'll take your word for it. Maybe there's a meme in there somewhere that I am not privy to, but hey, share more and I'll hype you. I'm happy. I'm happy for you that you've got cardboard. And again, if you're watching on Instagram, some of these comments are on YouTube. Some of these comments are coming through Twitch. And Mr. Slimy Boy Nice says, hey, listen, I just like me some cardboard. All right. I appreciate that big time. So real quick, I wanted to share with you a few quick ways that you can find a home and a sense of belonging, because most of us today, most all of the people in my personal development coaching, most everyone I talk to feels adrift, even if you were in the hometown you were in. Now, the exception are when people are in certain moments that they're running with other people, or when people have their tribe. A lot of people have begun finding their tribe remotely for years now, and now it's just becoming solidified. But many of you are not making that leap. So I wanted to share with you a quick moment that I finally realized and accepted that I felt completely adrift. I grew up in Vero Beach, Florida, which is on the East Coast. And I grew up there and I moved early on. I was rejected out of the church I was in. It's a very small town. I felt rejected from a lot of things. So I moved and started over in Lakeland, Florida. It's been phenomenal. And this community has welcomed me. But I never actually ended up feeling like I belonged. Maybe this is you. I always felt like the outsider. And this was my own fault. This was no one's fault, but it was just a tendency I had. Now, I was already involved in a lot of internet communities. This is back in 2007. I moved to Lakeland. I was already involved in a lot of online communities. I was already developing a relationship with stuff online. I was already creating content. Way back then, I was creating content. I traveled with Semester at Sea, traveled the world, and I had done a lot of travel blogging at the time just to start to get my chops. YouTube came online. I started posting on YouTube way back in the day. Then again, I moved to the Dominican Republic because, hey, at the time, I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Might as well continue. At the time, I was involved in a church. And I traveled as a missionary. We lived in Dominican Republic. I did a lot of work in Haiti for like 7 years. And I never really, boom. Mr. Slimy Boy 9 says, you said you tried getting into a church. Are you a religious man? I was. I'm not anymore, Mr. Slimy Boy. I'm a spiritual person. We could talk more about that in another show. I'm not a religious guy now at all, but I have a very strong Christian background. I went to seminary. I've written books about my Christian walk. I've been involved in that a lot. And by all means, I believe in a lot of the core teachings, but I'm not involved in the church, and I'm definitely not involved in religion for very specific reasons. And maybe we could do another stream on this, Mr. Slimy Boy 9, because I think there's a lot to learn there. But I benefited a lot from my time in the church and from my time in religion. But there came a moment where I just had to transition, and I transitioned, and that's part of what led me away from Vero. And then when I traveled to the Dominican Republic, I was doing missionary work there, and I very quickly had my eyes open about the negative sides of missionary work that happens to locals. the damage that's done. And that shook my faith a lot too. And so I felt adrift, and maybe you felt this way. The Sage room joined. Hello, Sage. How you doing? I felt adrift and I felt lost. And even though I've lived in Lakeland now since 2007, I still don't entirely feel like I belong anywhere. I don't feel like I'm a part of anything. However, let's contrast this. I've been doing content online since forever. I've been involved in Bitcoin since 2013, and I have a strong online crypto community. I have several WhatsApp groups that I've been a part of for years, longer than I've been a part of any local community group in Lakeland. I have very close friends that I've traveled to conferences with, and I don't even know where they're at right now. One of them lives in Buffalo. One of them lives in Quebec, or just outside of Montreal. I'm sorry. Another lives in Bogota, and then we meet up several times a year. I have a community, and I feel a part of that community, but they're not here, and I don't feel like I belong here. And this was solidified for me when my grandmother died. My grandmother lived on a 10-acre farm in Vero Beach, Florida. There was a ton of citrus. I helped plant all 10 acres of those citrus when I was a kid. We used to do Thanksgivings there, and then divorces happened, and then families spread throughout the country. And I wasn't really close to any of them, and I drifted away in a relationship for my grandmother. We didn't really talk. Well, jump forward, my grandfather passed away, and I felt really guilty, and I felt like I should start visiting her. So I drove over to Vero Beach, Florida, and that started a trend where I visited her just about every month for almost 2 years, just spending time with her and playing Uno with her. And I didn't realize how much I would value this as a young man, but in my late 30s, early 40s, I really started to enjoy this time with her. She got sick. She had to go into a nursing home and ended up with my aunt, her oldest daughter, in Idaho, and in a nursing home. And I went out to visit her the week before she passed. And I spent that week with her at her bedside, holding her hand. And she couldn't articulate much. She was growing old and passing. And I felt so grateful that I could be next to her. And again, she couldn't articulate much, but she would say my name over and over again and just appreciate me being there. And the same with my cousins who were there. And we were there right up until her passing. And then she passed, and I was driving home, and I thought, well, I was grateful for these moments, grateful for this connection. I felt connected for the first time. I felt a sense of home and a sense of tribe for the first time in a long time. And I thought, well, maybe I'll buy her property from the family trust. And maybe I'll actually set up a homestead there and start welcoming my family back and creating a centralizing property where family could just come back and gather, because it was this place in the world that I felt like I belonged. Well, not too long later, a week or so later, I received her will in the mail. And I and my brothers were rejected from the family entirely. We were not only not a part of the inheritance, which was fine, actually, but we weren't even allowed to return to the property. In fact, it was noted that the property should be sold, and we weren't even allowed to return to collect mementos. We were rejected from the family by the will. Now, my grandmother didn't feel this way about me. I know that for a fact. We were close in those last few years. But that's what the will said. And that's what the executor of the estate ended up following through with. I wasn't even allowed to visit. And there was a chessboard on my grandparents' property, and I just wanted to grab a little pawn. It was a chessboard my grandfather and I used to play chess in. And this was the last time in my life I felt a sense of home, a sense of belonging. There's a word for this in religion, Mr. Slimy Boy. There's a word for this in religion called Axis Mundi. And the Axis Mundi translates, the Latin is the axis of the world, or the center of the world. And a lot of us have a sense of belonging, an Axis Mundi, and it's often a geographic place, our home. Well, since I've been adrift from my home in Vero Beach, I have not felt a sense of home. Even in my own house, I've rented apartments, and you could even track my life based on where I've slept. And largely, I've slept on the floor. I slept on the floor all through my 20s. And then I got married, and we had a mattress, but we were still on the floor on a mattress. And then my wife obviously wanted a bed. And then I realized on a bed, my feet hang off the bed. So I never really felt at home in a bed because I never fit in a bed. Honestly, I'm the tall guy, and my feet always hang off the bed. I never felt a sense of belonging, even in my own bed. And now I sleep on a futon. And that futon doesn't fit me either. I'm really longing to be back on the floor because at least I fit there. And there's an anecdote there. There's a metaphor there that at least I feel at home on the ground, because the ground is where my feet land. And there's something honorable there, but there's also something kind of tragic there that I don't feel like I belong anywhere except sleeping on the ground. Now, this is metaphorical. This is not woe is me. I'm drawing you into a metaphor here to draw the point home that many people, even in their own household, do not feel like they belong. And I realized when my grandmother passed that I had been on a quest for a sense of belonging, a return to home, since the day I left. And when she passed, I realized there was no home except that which I make. And the home you make is somehow only partly homey, which is a weird thing to say. You think that you make a home, you make a house, you make a community, you feel like, hey, man, you got to feel like you belong. Well, you belong a little bit, but you know what it took to build it, as opposed to the childhood home you were born into that felt comfortable. So my point is this: there's a whole generation of people that I'm finding that are more connected than they've ever been before. They get on the internet, they find their niches, they find their communities, they find the channels they listen to, they find the voices they listen to, and maybe their niches, maybe they're Minecraft communities, maybe they're Discord servers where they feel like they belong. Maybe there are these virtual communities, but what I'm finding is in spite of all that, they're feeling therefore they belong in one context more than any other generation. But I'm finding that when they look outside and they drive around this town they live in, they're more disconnected than ever before. And there's a major loss of personal power because of that. I'll tell you how I've seen this. I've noticed that I make less eye contact than ever before. I notice that people want to ask a lot of me, and my virtual communities don't really tend to ask a lot of me. We just participate in whether it's gaming, whether it's the crypto group I have in my WhatsApp group. We just support one another. We encourage one another. At the gym, we encourage one another. If there's any place I felt at home, it's the gym, but I can only be there reasonably 2 or 3 hours a day before it just gets weird that I'm spending more time there. But even though these people have never been in my home, and even though we've probably never even had a meal together, it still feels more like home than anywhere before. So I've been pondering this because as a coach, I notice this is also true in a lot of the business owners I coach. I notice this is true in a lot of the young men that I've coached over time. And what's worse about all of this is there doesn't seem to be any home ownership on the horizon. Our families are becoming more and more nomadic. We have found family more and more, and those are awesome things to have. However, fewer and fewer people actually have them. So the questions start coming up in people's minds. Where do I go? Where should I live? Why don't I feel like I belong wherever I am at reality-wise? But when I'm lost in a game, I feel like I know exactly where I'm at. Well, some of this is coming of age. Some of this has always been true of every generation, but some of this is manageable. And my concern about this is that people are lacking power. There's a defeatism and a disempowerment in many people as they're asking these questions. And I want to offer you 5 ways that, as a person who has been nomadic, how I have obtained a sense of belonging, how I have found a way to anchor myself wherever I'm at. Whether I'm at a conference in Puerto Rico, which happened recently, and I felt home. I'm more at home in the world than I am in my hometown. I'm more at home on the move. And what this is telling me is not something to cry over. What this tells me is that we're moving into a neo-nomadism. You know, with our influencer company, we serve a lot of RVers. And I realized RVers are just homesteaders with a different MO. Homesteaders want to be closer to the earth, closer to the natural way, closer to seasons. They want to be closer to a sense of groundedness. Well, what I found with a lot of the RVers and neo-nomads is a lot of the RV influencers and creators, they're also chasing the same feeling, but they get it from nomadism. They follow the seasons. They follow 72 degrees, which is very tribal and very nomadic. So you have homesteaders planting themselves in, a far off plot of land where they're trying to grow their own food and provide for themselves sustainably. But so are RVers. There's a neo-nomadism going on as people are trying to find a sense of place. Well, let me tell you something. One thing I have had to learn is my psychological shift of I'm at home, not being at home. For those who don't know, I've got a set of tattoos over here, and one is Nemo Venit, and it means no one is coming in Latin. No one's coming. And the tattoo underneath it says Tatvamasi. It's a Hindu concept of thou art that. You are the thing you are looking for. You are the thing you are looking for. And in being the thing you are looking for, you need to be at home with yourself no matter where you find yourself. So how do I, someone who's been adrift for over 20 years, I've been a nomad for over 20 years. And yes, I own a home, but I do not feel like I belong. Yes, I know people in the community. In fact, I know more people in this community than anyone else I know in the community, but I genuinely feel like I have many friends, many acquaintances, but no friends. I generally feel like they know me well enough to say hi to me in the streets and to chit chat with me in the coffee shop, but who gets the invite back to the house? No one. Who gets the invite for dinner with the family? No one. I'm a little too abrasive. I'm a little too aggressive. People don't really know how to deal with me because of my, how I am with business and because how I am, very abrasive personality. And because of all of that, I'm here and I'm known, but I don't belong. And having been someone who hasn't belonged for 20 years, I can tell you I have these 5 tips that I've always said to myself. They're my mantras on how to gain a sense of belonging, not belonging. How to become comfortable as a neo-nomad, and to be comfortable with the relationships I have, the very deep relationships I have from my friends and from my virtual relationships like the Not Crypto Bro Show and our 4 people that we had from the Not Crypto Bro Show. I'm very at home with all of that. And so here's my tips on doing that. Hang on, I'm getting blown up over here. Just a second. Hold on, bear with me. I am on a live BBS. Boom. Okay, got it. Boom. So we're back. So here are my 5 tips on how I've been a nomad and how I've found a sense of place no matter where I'm at. Let me give these to you real quick. Number 1, you need to have a rich inner life. Now, it's one thing to have like your escapes, to have your gaming routines. It's one thing to have, whether it's gaming or whether it's mystery novels or whether you're just following other people's Twitch streams or whatever that is. That's not exactly an inner life. You're an introvert, that's fine. But those are more escapisms. A rich inner life is basically using your power of envisioning, using your power of imagination. You basically use it to envision your highest self. You use it to see what it is you really want, to articulate clearly what you really want in life, to strengthen your self-image, to strengthen your self-confidence, to see who you want to be. You need to have a rich inner life. And by that, I mean, you could move to a new town. You could move to Austin because that's where you want to be. And it's going to be tough to make friends at first. You can move to New York City. That's going to be tough at first. You can move to LA. You can move to the woods. Marissa just moved to a property in North Carolina. You can move to the woods. What you need to have is first and foremost, have a rich inner life. Journal. Write down goals. Envision who you want to be. Envision what you want for the property. Envision what you want for your day. You need to make sure you make time to envision. Even if you're a newbie in a new town, you need to be able to take time aside while you're showering or getting ready for the day or during your workout and envision what the day's going to be like. It needs to be a rich visualization. Then that's number 1. You need to have a rich inner life. So read real books. Don't just read digital books. There's science on reading physical books because they're 3-dimensional. And yes, have a Kindle. Yes, please read books on Kindle. Yes, please read audiobooks. Absolutely. But also make the time to read physical books because it exercises your brain in a 3-dimensional way. Have a rich inner life. When you can read, and I don't care at the moment that I'm talking about fiction or nonfiction. When you read, you're developing a rich inner life. Now, why is that important to feeling a sense of home or belonging? Because of the next step. Use your ability to have a rich inner life to create strong, immutable goals. When you create strong, immutable goals from a rich inner life, you have a sense of belonging wherever you're at. It gives context to why you are where you are. Sometimes when I wake up and have an existential crisis here in Lakeland, Florida, what am I doing in Lakeland, Florida? I've been here almost 15 years. And I still don't feel like I belong. I still don't feel like I have a super tight friend group geographically here. I feel like I have these friends elsewhere, but not here. I feel adrift. And then I ask myself, what am I doing here? And I go back to my goals and realize, oh, I had goals. And I have goals now. Why am I staying here? I could move to Austin, which is very appealing to me. I could move to St. Pete, which is very appealing to me. But I have very specific goals. So if you have a rich inner life, and then you actually have like strong, immutable goals, it gives context to your sense of place. Why am I here? Well, I didn't come here for the friends. I came here for certain other reasons, and I hope to build community, and I hope to build friends, and I know that other people know me, but I'm here for a reason and for a certain set of goals. And so when you have the second point, when you have strong immutable goals, it gives context to wherever you're at. Another example is this. I travel a lot. I traveled to Puerto Rico recently for a conference where I was a speaker at. And there are days, even when you're paid to travel, there are days when it doesn't matter if you're making money, you still have an existential crisis. The most successful travelers and speakers that I run with, they all wake up in existential crisis in the middle of a hotel room in the middle of nowhere. It might be in the middle of New York City or Timbuktu, and they wake up and go, oh my God, like, what am I doing with my life? There's existential dread with being a paid speaker on the road. I'm telling you this from personal experience. There's the same problems. You're just dealing with them in a new place. So you wake up in a hotel room and you think, what am I doing here? Oh, I'm getting paid. So strong internal life. I'm here for a purpose. I have a strong sense of self. And then you have strong immutable goals. I'm here because I have goals to be a speaker. I'm here to serve this community of people. Then what happens is you start to integrate into that locale. So here's another strong immutable goal I have. I go to the gym every day, no matter where I'm at. So if I find myself in a hotel in Puerto Rico, like I did just a few weeks ago, I'll wake up, I have an existential crisis, even though I'm living the dream, air quotes included. I have a strong immutable goal. So I get up and go to the gym. And guess what? I meet people. Guess what? My sense of self-confidence rises as I'm working out in that gym. Guess what? I see street vendors making coffee in the morning. I greet them and I learn a little bit more Spanish and they tell me about the area and they talk to me before anyone else wakes up. I have strong immutable goals. My goal is that I love the cafe. I go to a cafe because I go to the gym because I have fitness goals, but it also helps expose me to the area. Suddenly I feel like I've stretched out and I belong here. I'm not waking up into other people's context. I woke up and entered my own context. So whether I'm in a new place, like in that case, Puerto Rico, or when I traveled in the Dominican Republic, or when I was doing work in Haiti, even when I was working on a hillside in Haiti, I had a strong immutable goal to be fit and healthy. So I'd wake up and work out on the side of a hill, sleeping on a tent in a pepper field in Kenskoff, Haiti. I would do that because I had strong immutable goals. It didn't matter if I was adrift. Similarly, I stopped by in Canada and I stopped in a cafe after my workout. I stopped in a cafe. Why? Because I have strong immutable goals that I meet people in the community. Even if I don't feel a strong sense of belonging at first, I need to build those relationships. Love is in action says, I like that. I'm not waking up in other people's context. I'm waking up in my own context. Yes, you get it, Leanne. Like that is exactly a feeling that I want. Now, I won't deny that I wake up, and I think you can relate to this. I wake up in existential dread more often than people realize. But as soon as I start taking action on my goals, it changes that context. And as soon as I step out into the world, that's the context that happens. So thank you for calling that out. That's on Instagram if anyone's watching. So when I'm in Canada, wherever I'm at, I go out for coffee to the local coffee shop. And I make sure I meet someone new. I ask the barista what's going on, or I listen to see if the city elders, when we bought a property in Cocoa Beach, I bought a property in Cocoa Beach. The first thing I did was I found the local cafe that all the city leaders go to. And sure enough, the city council was there having coffee. They all knew each other, small town. And I just asked them what's going on. Why would you do that? Because I have a strong, immutable goal to be connected in the community somehow. Again, I'm starting to add my own context. I'm not just waking up in their context. I'm infusing with their, and I'm bringing my own. Well, they ask me, what are you doing in town? Well, I just bought a property here. I'm super interested in what's going on. Let me know how I can serve you guys. That's a core principle. So that's the second thing. So number one is have a rich inner life. Number two is have strong, immutable goals. Number three, this one is so simple, it's ridiculous. In your local geography, make eye contact. What? This is stupid. No, let me tell you something. I'm an extrovert, and I have realized I've started avoiding eye contact with people in my local geography. When I'm on Zoom, when I'm on my YouTube lives, I have no problem making eye contact. But when I go out in the world, I am so worn down with people asking for things of me that I've begun avoiding eye contact locally, and I caught myself. And I realized, no, I got to turn this around. So as soon as I turn this around, I hold my head up and I make eye contact with people. And again, when you make eye contact, you set the tone. If you're walking down the street and someone is passing you and you have your eyes up and you're making eye contact, if you make eye contact first and then they lift their eyes and see you're making eye contact, you have created the context, and hopefully it's kind, loving, and friendly. But if they're distracted, they look up and then you look up and you're not really sure who's leading, it's super awkward. You go back to your phone and go back to scrolling. But if you are trying to find a home, Find a sense of belonging. You need to hold your head up high and make eye contact because that signals, it's a primitive signal in the human species that says, I belong here. If you avoid eye contact avoidance is the number one signal in the human species that you don't belong. If you avoidance in general, if you're avoiding goals, if you're avoiding work, if you're avoiding your boss, if you're avoiding eye contact, if you're avoiding others, if you're avoiding speaking up, if you have an avoidance mechanism in you, just know that that's the number one signal in the human species that you do not belong. Notice most groups will start pushing out someone who acts like that. If you have a group of friends, and these group of, 4 or 5 friends typically get together. If one starts avoiding conversations, avoiding dialogue, avoiding the get-togethers, you will soon get cut off because you're a dying branch. It's literally like a branch dying on a tree that eventually shrivels and falls off. Avoidance is the number one human signal that you do not belong. So how do you belong? Don't avoid. Run into people, talk to people, say hey as people cross you in the street. But the number one trick is just make eye contact. Make eye contact in the cafe. Make eye contact. It says I'm open. It says I'm willing for you to talk to me. So it's wrong to learn self-protection. I know why people do eye avoidance because I did it. We do it to protect ourselves. We avoid eye contact. Marlena, good morning, Marlena. We learn to avoid eye contact because we learn to protect ourselves from being drained by people that are just trying to siphon from us. But eye avoidance is not the right solution because it actually starts signaling to the world that you don't belong. So what's the alternative? Make eye contact and learn how to say no with kindness. Make eye contact, welcome the conversation, and learn how to set your boundaries. That is maturity as the human species. So if you want to find a home and belonging, the first thing you need to do is look up, make eye contact, and connect. The second thing in that little sub point there is learn how to say no with kindness. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm really too busy to take that on right now. Could we circle back in a few months? Well, it's not going to be relevant in a few months. Man, I'm so sorry. I have to pass on that opportunity. Get your word tracks in place. Number 4, build tribe with other nomads. And I'm going to caveat here, build tribe with other neo-nomads. In this world where I've lived in this town for nearly 15 years and still don't necessarily feel like I belong anywhere, don't feel like I'm at home necessarily, I still need to find my tribe. And I've done this, as I said earlier in the show, with my Not Crypto Bros co-hosts, the people that we had a show with together. We're very close. We talk daily. Someone's getting a job interview today, and we were all on the call last night coaching them through that job interview. One of them is building a homestead along with other crypto investments up in Montreal. Another lives in Bogota, but is up in Massachusetts getting medical care right now and spending time with his dad. I mean, like, these are real people that I'm very close with. And by very close, I mean intimate and vulnerable. We meet up several times a year. We visit each other globally. We meet at conferences. We call each other randomly. Hey, let's just catch up. I do that more with them than anyone locally and even my family. So if you're feeling adrift, if you do not feel like you belong with somebody, call them. Reaching out to someone as soon as they cross your mind. Reach out to them. So number 4 is build tribe with other nomads and other neo-nomads. These are also other people that value being on the move. They value up-and-comers. They value people going somewhere. They value people that make eye contact. They value people that have a rich inner life. They value people who set immutable goals. Attract those people. Run with those. Call them and just say, hey, I was thinking about you. What's going on? What are you working on? Don't even make an ask. Make an offer even. Hey, what can I serve you with? Hey, I was thinking about you. I'm going to send you $100 so you could go take a night in a hotel somewhere. I don't care what it is. Start investing in your tribe with other neo-nomads. Do not get fixated. Again, the goal here, the points here are how to feel comfortable or how to feel at home feeling adrift. How to feel at home when you're always on the move and nowhere feels like home. And if you build a tribe with other nomads, it doesn't matter. I have this one friend I posted recently from the Asheville airport. I was just in the Asheville airport about 2 weeks ago. And I did a little story, and that story simply said this: I have yourself some friends that you always make it a rule that when you're in the airport, you call each other. My friend Jared, I was in the airport. I call my friend Jared whenever I'm in the airport. Make friends with neo-nomads, people that are on the move. A, they have more interesting stories. B, they're going through an immense amount of personal development because they're always being exposed to new thought patterns. They're always being exposed to new relationships. So they're always having a powerful feedback loop. So make friends with these people. And so whenever you're in the airport, make it a habit to call one of these people. Hey, I was just checking in on you. Yeah, I'm in the Atlanta airport. Yeah, I'm freaking in Dominican Republic and I thought of you. Hey, I'm in Italy thinking of you. Make this a habit. Build tribe with other nomads and other global citizens. And you will realize you'll find yourself having an existential crisis, as I did, as a speaker in a hotel room somewhere. You're getting paid to speak. This should be the dream. You wake up and you still have an existential crisis. And you'll realize, hey, and you'll think about the true friends you have, these friends of neo-nomads. And you realize, you know what? Let me give them a call. And you'll call them that morning and you'll feel normal, right as rain, because you have your routines, you have your goal setting, you have your routines, you have your rich inner life. And now you've got these relationships that help you recontextualize. Hey, let me help you feel grounded a little bit. Where are you at? I'm in the hotel cafe. And I don't want to go out too much because I'm just feeling X, Y, and Z. And they'll hype you up, just like your people at the gym will. Because the neo-nomads understand that in today's day and age, we all need to stop thinking that we live in a geography and realize we're global citizens. Neo-nomads have an edge, and it's tough it's tough to not feel like you belong in your hometown. It's tough to have your friend groups and you're great there and you feel at home when you're with them. But when you get up and drive to the post office, you're like, do I even live here? There's like this dissociation that goes on. It's like, yeah, I think I live here. I have a post office box. It's because we're starting to live more and more on these other relationships, so much so that Facebook actually rechanged its name to the metaverse or to Meta. Why? Because it's realizing that Facebook is a relationship first platform. And it's realizing that relationships first and foremost are becoming virtual more than geographical. And so it changed its name for this reason. It's acknowledging that these virtual relationships are starting to become stronger. But what's going on in the individual is the individual is feeling more and more adrift at the local level. Even though the relationships are dynamic, I can walk out the store to the local coffee shop and I will run into no less than 10 people I know. I still don't feel tribe. I still don't feel a sense of home. I still don't feel like I belong. And that's just me being open and vulnerable. But I do with my virtual relationships. I know them very well. I can call them right now. We can call each other right now and send each other money, borrow 10 grand. Literally, my Colombian friend, he's doing some crypto investments right now that I won't get into. Literally, we could call and borrow money from each other. It just doesn't matter. Like, we're buddies that way. And I love that. So build tribe with other nomads. Lastly, this is my last point. I'm not saying throw out your local relationships at all. I'm saying there has to be a degree of acceptance that you will get more fulfilled from your nomadic relationships in your inner life. And this is true for everyone going forward. However, the caveat is what you'll find is this. If you put all of these habits in place, you will develop newer, stronger local relationships. And that leads me to the fifth thing. And this is the final thing. You got to hear me on this. Add value wherever and whenever you can. You've heard this phrase before. You've dismissed it because, I get it. I got to add value. I got to create things of value. I don't think people are spending enough time with this thought. You have to add value. Oh, no, I wrote an ebook. I added value. Did you actually take time realizing whether or not it was what people even wanted or needed at all? Or did you just ideate it because it was a good idea? Oh, I came up with this business service. I guarantee this is going to win. I'm adding value. Is anyone asking for it? Is there market demand? Is it actually satisfying a need, or was it just a good idea? It's one thing to have a good economic structure, good business plan. That doesn't mean you're adding value. Adding value and aligning values are synonymous. So if you find yourself locally or you find yourself virtually with your nomadic tribe, no matter what, if you have a default modality of adding value, you will find a rich inner and outer life. You will find a rich virtual and local life. You will enrich your life in a huge way. Find ways to add value. And I'm gonna caveat it with this. Don't do this at the expense of yourself. And what I mean is this. In the church, it was often taught that you should sacrifice. It was a moral high ground to sacrifice everything all the time. I no longer believe that. I used to believe I was a tugboat pulling people along. I realized it's better to be the lighthouse, to be a beacon, to send light in the darkness, to be firm and stable wherever you're at. If you find yourself in the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport because you're moving to Dominican Republic, as I did so many years ago, and you feel adrift, you can still bring light to other people. So you go online, you post where you're headed and what you're up to, and you share that to the world, and you let it be a light. But what you can't do is drag people. You can't drag people forward because it means they don't want it. And you'll both waste your own resources and also not get them to the destination. But if you're a lighthouse and you give them something to move towards and you add value along the way, here are the things I've learned. Here's my experiences. Here's what I've been up to. If you add value, you will find that locally, you will start to feel like you belong, not because you necessarily suddenly belong geographically, but because you know you can belong wherever you find yourself, because you know how to see the needs in other people and how to add value to that in an uplifting, empowering way for the both of you. Learn to add value. Number one, just to recap, have a rich inner life. Number two, have strong and mutable goals. Number three, I've already forgotten, my brain's blanking. Make eye contact and connect wherever you find yourself, virtually or physically. Make eye contact in the street, eye contact in the cafe, eye contact at passing friends, and take it as you may and get stronger in the end, learn the ability to say no. Number four, build a tribe with other nomads. And number five, add value wherever you're at. These are on you, but I guarantee they will help you feel like you belong. Notice this wasn't about just making friends. This was about being valuable as a human and contributing to the species. Why am I talking about any of this? Because I think it's important that more and more of us are going to feel adrift. More and more of us, you're going to run into more and more people that aren't making eye contact. And you should ask yourself, are they okay? They're acting like they don't belong. And I want them to know that they belong. Why? Because humans are powerful when we're acting empowered. Humans are powerful when we're acting empowered. And when we're acting empowered, we contribute more and we make this world a better place. So I want you to feel at home. I want you to feel tribe. I want you to feel community wherever you're at, even where you don't feel it. I don't feel like I necessarily belong here, but I feel like I belong where I'm at. And I carry that with me wherever I go. But more than that, no matter what you do today, I want you to remember the mission. Igniting lives of explosive significance, starting with your own. Have a great day.